Today's headlines. Macron reiterates unconditional support for security of Israel and calls for the resumption of peace talks. National Assembly President says unofficial plebiscite is proceeding smoothly. Australia-US refugee swap is again in doubt as officials exit Nauru. Hawaii tower blaze kills 3 people. Plus, aside from recipients, who else does blood donation help? We will find out in a moment. Hello everyone, I'm Mace Ramirez, bringing you stories from around the globe. And this is Eagle News, Washington, D.C. French President Emmanuel Macron reiterated on Sunday that he would support any initiative seeking the resumption of negotiations of the peace process in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, which has been frozen for 3 years, after meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. He confirmed France's long-held policy that favors a two-state solution with Jerusalem as a capital for the Palestinian state and Israel, and said he would visit Israel in the coming months at the invitation of the Israeli Prime Minister.
La France, à cet égard,
in this regard, France reiterates, and I would like to do so officially and personally, its unfaltering and unconditional support of Israel's security. As such, I am also calling for the resumption of negotiations between the Israelis and the Palestinians within the framework of a two-state solution. Israel and Palestine living together side by side within secure and recognized borders, with Jerusalem as the capital. That is the constant line of French diplomacy, to which I am deeply attached.
Netanyahu, who is looking to turn a new page with France after resisting attempts led last year by Macron's predecessor, Francois Hollande, to restart the peace process via an international conference, said Israel and France shared a desire to see a stable and peaceful Middle East.
We share a desire to see a stable and peaceful Middle East. We discussed both the Palestinian-Israeli conflict, but also the growing opportunities for cooperation between Israel and some of our Arab neighbors because of this sense, a new sense, of shared threats and shared interests. On the Palestinian side, I've made it clear that our view is that the root of the conflict, the reason it goes on, is the persistent Palestinian refusal to accept a Jewish state, a nation state for the Jewish people in any boundaries. And this, alongside with the question of enduring security, are the two pillars of peace.
Macron also said that France shared Israel's concerns at the arming of the Lebanese Shiite group Hezbollah. National Assembly President Julio Borges said on Sunday the opposition organized unofficial referendum to increase pressure on President Nicolas Maduro was proceeding smoothly. Lynn Pence reports.
National Assembly President Julio Borges gave a news conference several hours after voting began, where he said that all 2,030 voting centers had opened on time. A steady stream of voters headed into various polling stations throughout Caracas. The symbolic poll is intended to further dent Maduro's legitimacy amid a crippling economic crisis and 3 months of anti-government protests that have led to nearly 100 deaths. The opposition is billing it as an act of civil disobedience to be followed by 0 hour, a possible reference to a national strike or escalated actions against Maduro.
This step that we are taking today is a step for peace. The step that we are taking today is a step for a democratic Venezuela, a free Venezuela. And we are making it so that our people, the Venezuelans, democratically impose peace in Venezuela.
But the vote does not appear to augur a short-term change of government or a solution to the country's political stalemate. Maduro 54 says Sunday's plebiscite is illegal and meaningless. Instead, the leftist leader is campaigning for an official July 30th vote for the new assembly, which will be able to rewrite the Constitution and several state institutions. For Eagle News, I am Lynn Pence, and I am 1 with 25.
Thank you, Lynn. Up next, Australia-US refugee swap is again in doubt as officials exit Nauru. Hawaii tower blaze kills 3 people. Plus, aside from recipients, who else does blood donation help? We'll find out in a moment. Eagle News Washington, D.C. will return shortly. Welcome back. You're watching Eagle News, Washington, D.C. U.S. officials interviewing refugees held in an Australian-run offshore detention center left the facility abruptly, throwing further doubt over a plan to resettle many of the detainees in America. Myla Sumbulan reports.
U.S. officials halted screening interviews and departed the Pacific island of Nauru on Friday, 2 weeks short of their scheduled timetable and a day after Washington said the United States had reached its annual refugee intake cap. Australian Foreign Minister Julie Bishop said on Sunday the deal was progressing as expected, reiterating the government had assurances from the Trump administration.
I understand that the matter is progressing as we expected. The United States is upholding the agreement. We have been given assurances by both President Trump and Vice President Pence and others that the agreement will be adhered to. And the United States, like Australia, has a quota each year for its refugee intake. I understand that the quota has been fulfilled for this year. It kicks over again on the 1st of October. But I have no doubt that this agreement is progressing as the relevant US authority confirmed this morning.
An indefinite postponement of the deal would have significant repercussions for Australia's pledge to close a second detention center on Papua New Guinea's Manus Island on October 31st. Only 70 refugees, less than 10% of the total detainees held in the camp, have completed U.S. processing. For Eagle News, I am Myla Sumbulan, and I am 1 with 25.
Thank you, Myla. Honolulu fire officials on Saturday were hoping to determine the cause of a fire that tore through 3 upper floors of a 36-story residential tower in Hawaii's capital, killing at least 3 people. The fire, which broke out on Friday afternoon, took firefighters about 4 hours to extinguish. EBC Hawaii's Ron Hamilton with more.
I'm standing in front of the Marco Polo condominium in Honolulu, Hawaii, where a 5-alarm fire has killed 3 people, injuring many more.
The Marco Polo condominium was built in 1969, and at the time, fire extinguisher sprinklers were not required to be inside the building. The fires occurred on the 26th, 27th, and 28th floors of the building. Black smoke was visible through fire escapes and hallways, but was not visible from outside. The apartment fire had many people trapped inside the building, unable to exit because of the flames. The 5-alarm fire summoned over 100 firefighters, which is equivalent to 30 battalions. The American Red Cross was on the scene offering drinks, chairs, first aid, and blankets to the victims of the fire. Mayor Kurt Caldwell was on the scene to assess the damage. The Honolulu Fire Department has announced that there have been 3 dead so far and that the fire has been subdued but is still present at its source. Meanwhile, residents have been displaced to Iolani School as a temporary shelter.
The Honolulu Fire Department now states that everything is under control and there is no further danger from this fire to adjacent structures or anywhere within the building. Reporting from Honolulu, Hawaii, this is Ron Hamilton for Eagle News. I am 1 with 25.
Thank you, Ron. The 3 victims identified were Brett Reller, a 54-year-old employee from Hawaiian Airlines, her 85-year-old mother, Melba Dilly, and Joanne Kawata, aged 71. All three resided on the 26th floor where the fire broke out. This fire erupted a month to the day after the tragedy at Grenfell Tower, the London high-rise where at least 80 people died in a fire in an older building also unequipped with sprinklers. Aside from recipients, who else does blood donation help? We'll find out in a moment. Eagle News, Washington, D.C. will return shortly. Welcome back. This is Eagle News, Washington, D.C. When one donates blood, another receives it. Today we'll find out, aside from the recipient, who else does giving blood help? EBC Florida's Claudine Caday reports.
A, B, and O. Simple letters that hold great meaning to those who donate and receive blood donations. The Iglesia Ni Cristo, or Church of Christ, in the Florida region work together in donating blood to their communities. Heather Rose explains how donating blood helps those with various illnesses.
The way that we can continue saving the lives of patients in the hospitals, whether cancer patients or trauma patients, is by collecting blood donations in order to be able to provide it for those who actually need it.
Even though donating blood helps patients, it also helps the donor. When the old blood cells leave the donor's system, the body gets to produce new blood cells, which help maintain a healthy body. Donating blood also helps the community. Mike Robinson, a donor candidate of double red blood cells, explains how gratifying it is to donate.
I'm one of those candidates who can do what's called double red blood cells. In my case of being able to do that, I'm able to give 2 bags at a time, and they said that helps about 4 to 8 patients at one time. So just to think that I can do that myself, you know, it's very gratifying, very fulfilling, can help someone.
When you donate blood, you have the potential of saving up to 3 lives. According to you from Orlando, Florida, I'm Claudine Caday, and I am 1 with 25.
Thank you, Claudine. That is today's Eagle News, Washington, D.C. Join us again next time as we bring news that matters to you. Visit our website at Eaglenews.PH, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/EagleNewsPH. I'm Mace Ramirez. I'm 1 with 25.